with Dr. Carol Lieberman, who's been with us before. She's a California-based doctor, not only a board-certified psychiatrist with a master's in public health, she's a recipient of an NIMH fellowship in epidemiology for her UCLA research on how to use the media to prevent and treat physical and mental disorders. And she joins us this morning to get into the topic of how to talk to kids about the coronavirus. Good morning, Dr. Lieberman. Welcome back. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
Well, it's always a joy to have you on, and not a joy the times we're living in now, but obviously we're dealing with a lot of things that we didn't have to deal with before. For example, our kids are at home. And so the 7 steps on how to talk to your kids about coronavirus and maybe keep a little sanity for parents and kids, right?
Yes, this is a tough time, but it can also be a time where you teach kids things that will be useful for them for the rest of their life. First of all, what parents need to realize and to be aware of is that kids are watching them all the time, not just now during coronavirus, but in general. And so, if, for example, if they tell kids not to be scared or don't panic, things like that, and then the kids see them or have seen them running down the aisles of the grocery store in a mask and gloves and fighting with people over toilet paper, that's going to sort of nullify what you tell your kids about how you really feel and what they should feel, and that adds to how scary it is for all of them. Then also, the best way to explain to kids what this is all about is to say that it's like the cold or a flu, because coronavirus is in that family, the actual virus, and that is the nearest thing that it can be compared to and that kids are familiar with. And then tell them that most people get better, that there are treatments and that most people get better. And then one key thing is, and I've been saying this a lot, I might have said it to you before, that we can't really prevent or control whether we're going to be exposed to the coronavirus. I mean, yes, the more we stay in our homes and so on, but we could come in contact with it somehow. So the key thing is to make ourselves more resistant and resilient rather than focusing on where the coronavirus is. So teaching kids the basic steps of eating nutritious food, getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise, washing your hands, taking vitamins, those kinds of things are lessons that will last their lifetime.
Let me ask you a question, Doctor, just to throw something in there. And again, I want to keep on going with the 7 things, but how do we know that we are immune to the virus until we're kind of exposed to the virus? I was reading another epidemiologist report this morning, and again, just an alternative point of view, which essentially said you quarantine all the people who are high risk, and then you let other people who are not high risk kind of go through this. Have you read anything like that? Do you subscribe to anything like that, or are we doing it the right way?
Well, but that's a separate thing from, doing what you're doing with your kids. But, yes, I know there are these conflicting, and that's part of why this whole thing is so tough. Because you listen to one doctor or one scientist about, the details about the coronavirus, and they tell you one thing. It was 6 feet, now it's 13 feet. The virus couldn't stay in the air, now it can stay in the air. So you can drive yourself crazy, trying to outsmart the virus. And that's why really the thing to concentrate on is making yourself as healthy as possible psychologically and physically, which goes to the next point, which is to not let kids be exposed to too much, or depending upon their age, maybe any, fear-mongering news or fear-mongering people, because the more stressed out we are from fear, the more our immune system is weakened and the more likely we are to get the coronavirus. And then, of course,
I would imagine social media comes into play there, too, because, hey, Mom, guess what Billy said on social media today about this? Yeah, and all of a sudden that gets passed on, and what was maybe false becomes true in your mind, and, again, fuels more fear.
Yes, and so that's part of it, too. Hopefully you will have done this beforehand, but if not, now's a good time to make sure that your kids feel comfortable coming to you with anything and everything, with questions they have, confusion. Because, I mean, like you were just saying, even grown-ups are confused about the coronavirus. So kids are going to be telling other kids all kinds of things to scare them so that they can feel more powerful, like, oh, I know something that you don't know.
Right, right.
And so you need to, in fact, it's good to ask kids about that. What are your friends saying about this? Have you heard anything from anybody that makes you, wonder or makes you scared? And then, of course, both for parents and kids, particularly if you have some underlying medical issue, like if a child has asthma, for example, it's important to go to your doctor now so that the doctor can check on these things and make sure that you are at optimal level, that whatever it is that you have that's underlying is an optimal treatment. And then one of the things that's been happening is, at least when more kids were in school, is xenophobia, fear of strangers, particularly fear of other Chinese students. There was lots of bullying going on, especially at the beginning when the focus was on China and kids were thinking that a Chinese child in their class was going to give them coronavirus. So there was all kinds of bullying going on. And even now, it's important to explain to kids that they shouldn't be afraid of people who look different and who just because of where they come from. And, of course, it's
right.
Italy, too, and those kinds of places. And then I was recommending that parents not keep their kids home from school unless their school was closed. Of course, now for most parents, that's been taken out of their hands. But, it varies around the states. But, that's another thing. How do you explain to your kids about who says they can't go to school? Why is it that someone can close their school? That kind of thing. So depending upon the child's age and maturity, you can have some really interesting discussions, like what you were saying at the beginning about the government and power and all kinds of things.
Right. Dr. Lieberman, always good talking to you. Where can people find out more information about what you're doing?
Well, my basic website is drcarol.com, and that's Carol with an E. And then also I'm the terrorist therapist.com.